Okay, I think we're ready. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 94 of the Driftless Knitting podcast. My name is Jennifer. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Driftless Knitter, and you can find the podcast on Ravelry if you search for Driftless Knitting under the groups tab. I'm coming to you today on May 31st. It is a Sunday. It's about 1 o'clock. And I'm coming to you from my brand new apartment that my husband and I have recently moved into. Last time I podcasted, we were just about to move. We were about 2 days away from moving. Most things were packed up. We're ready to go, and we moved just a little bit north of where we lived before. So still in Wisconsin, still in the Madison area. I have kept my job at Knit Circus. Nothing has changed in that sense. We just moved to a different town, to a little bit bigger of an apartment, because we are expecting a baby in September. So things are progressing along nicely. We have mostly everything unpacked, hung up, ready to go, except for, of course, in the baby's room. That's probably the room that has the least done in it, just because we are still waiting on furniture. We're still deciding how we want to decorate, and then it's kind of been the place where we've put a few things that we're still trying to figure out where to store, or if we are going to use those things. So that's definitely a work in progress, but we're getting there. We have been here for just over 2 weeks now. We really, really like it. And we're familiar with the town since it wasn't too far away. We've come here plenty of times before, but we still haven't been able to do as much exploring as we'd want, just because we are still kind of in the grips of the COVID-19 pandemic. Things are starting to open up in our town, in our state, but my husband and I are both being very, very cautious. We don't necessarily think that just because things are opening up, we are free from worry or free from the chances of getting this disease. This virus, I guess. So we are still working from home. We're still being cautious. We are occasionally ordering some takeout. I did order some Chinese food last night because I just couldn't resist. But other than that, we are not really interacting much with the community yet, besides taking some walks and things like that. So anyway, I thought I would come to you quickly today. My husband is away at his family farm where he helps out on weekends, and I had a nice relaxing weekend at home. I have a virtual baby shower that I'm attending in a couple of hours, which is why you can't see it, but I'm wearing a dress today. You can kind of tell I'm a little more fancy than normal, I guess, but so his Seaver, my husband's cousin, is having a baby in June, at the end of June, and so we are having a virtual baby shower for her. So I'm going to be logging on and attending that in a couple of hours, but before that I wanted to come and say hello and show you what I've been working on over the last 2 weeks. Before I go any further, I do want to make a quick statement about what has been going on in our country over the past few days. The heartbreaking murder of George Floyd, which happened in Minneapolis several days ago now, and the resulting chaos that has come from that. I had some hard days when I was just trying to read and learn as much as possible and really understand what was going on, and just hear voices from people who are affected by racism every day. And this has happened way too many times, and the fact that it's still happening is appalling, and the fact that our system just seems to be so broken when it comes to dealing with situations like this. It's just, I'm really at a loss for words. Sometimes it can feel, watching videos of continued violent reactions from our government and the police force, it just seems hopeless, kind of. But we just have to keep doing our part to educate and inform and learn ourselves, because obviously I do not have all the answers. I do not understand fully what it feels like, but we have to do our best in the positions that we're in to educate ourselves and educate others. So that is what I am determined to do. And my company, Knit Circus, is doing a really good job addressing this, and we are going to be, in the next couple of weeks, putting together, based on some resources that we're going to use. I knew I would forget. I should have written down the resource we're using primarily to educate ourselves, and then once we have done some research and some homework, we're going to write up some templates for our customers and our friends to contact the government about different social justice issues. So we're just kind of trying to help further the voices, and if people don't really know what to say, how they can speak up, hopefully this will be a good way of helping them do that. So anyway, it's just been really hard watching the news and going on social media, especially now, in a lot of the places where the rallies the rallies are happening. There's a lot of extremists who are taking advantage of the unrest and unfortunately putting a bad name on the protesters. I've seen so many people saying that it's the protesters that are destroying all of this property, and while that is probably true in some cases, it's not the whole story, and it's just awful that people will come in and take advantage of chaos and loot and destroy, when the main objective to these rallies and these riots that they're becoming is to put light on these social justice issues and the fact that minorities are still being discriminated against, and systemically in so many cases, and dying every day. And so it's been really hard. And I'm not even in the thick of it. I can't even imagine. So my heart goes out to everybody who is personally affected, whose families are in danger, people who worry that their sons and their fathers and their husbands, won't come home from the grocery store, or will get pulled over for a, you know, a regular traffic stop or a headlight being out and won't make it through that interaction. I can't even imagine what that's like. So we have to do better. We have to keep trying to do better. So anyway, okay. So I just went off to blow my nose. I think I'm good now. But yes, so I have been doing some knitting over the past 2 weeks. Yeah, and I have a bit to show you. The first thing, I guess I will show you, I'll start with some finished objects. I finished my Iquay cowl, which I believe I was working on the last time I podcasted. I'm pretty sure. I can't keep track because life has been a little chaotic, but it's got a crease in there from me folding it up last night, I guess. But this is a bandana style cowl that I was knitting out of Knit Circus Greatest of Ease, which is our merino, 80% merino, 20% nylon base. As you can see, it's seamed here in the back. Let me show you the back part. And yeah, I really enjoyed knitting this. I started it middle of May. It took me maybe about 2 or 3 weeks to do. This was part of, well, yeah. Sorry, I'm just thinking this was part of the Knit Circus stash busting cal, which encouraged our customers, our knitters, to use up some of their Knit Circus yarn. We had a Ravelry group, still do. Technically, it's still the 31st of May. I can't remember if I posted my finished, I don't think I did. I need to post my finished picture of this in there, even though I'm not eligible for prizes or anything like that. It's still fun to participate. So, yeah, that was a cal that was going through the month of May, and I knit 2 things for it. I knit my Twinkle and Spark cowl, and then I knit this Iquay cowl. So I used 2 gradient cakes of yarn in my stash, which was really nice. This one I'm actually really excited to have knit up because I bought this when I still worked at Yarnology up in Winona, Minnesota, which, yeah, it's been 3 years since I worked there, and I probably bought this maybe a year or so before I left, I would say. So it's been in my stash for maybe 4 or 5 years, and it was one of my first Knit Circus yarns that I'd ever purchased. The only other one that might be older than this, I can't remember when I bought one versus the other, was was a cake of yarn that I bought at a fiber festival where they were vending, and at that time, again, I was not working for them, and we just knew their yarn because we had carried it at Yarnology, and at their booth I fell in love with the colorway and I bought it. And yeah, so those 2 have been in my stash the longest, so one of them at least is knit up now. And yeah, I like the way it turned out. I did not use the entire cake. You can just keep knitting if you want to. You have to plan out sort of that you're gonna make it bigger. Well, no, I guess not. You can just keep like increasing if you have more yarn. With the Knit Circus gradients, you do have more yarn than the mini set that she originally dyed it in or designed it in. So if you want to use up the entire gradient, you do have to make it longer. And she has instructions in there about if you want the neckline to be longer, a bigger opening, to just, kind of keep going. So I did a little bit. I think I added an extra like handful of rows, but I didn't really know how far to go. I had never knit one of these with our gradient yarn, so I wasn't 100% sure, but I could have gone quite a bit longer. I had a whole section of like a whole color left out of the 6. So we break our gradients into 6 colors just to kind of keep things, I don't know, consistent. So this one had like this bright turquoise, and then it had 2 different color of blues. That was 3. You can kind of see there where it changes. And then it had 3 brown hues. So I really only knit 2. The light brown and then the dark, and then it was like just a slight shade darker. But I didn't want to go back. I didn't, you know, I was just like, it was something that I was just willing to sort of give up on, and I had a little bit of yarn waste, I guess, but it wasn't too bad. So I really like the way this fits. This is actually the first time, I just seamed it up last night, so this is the first time I'm wearing it, but I don't know if you can see the point there. There we go. But I think it looks good. Maybe I'll keep it on. It's kind of fun. I love this bright blue up here, and I am glad that I used up all of the blue and that I kind of have more blue in this cowl than I do brown, even though the brown kind of is this big swath down here. I still like having all those blue hues in there. So yeah, I blocked it, and like I said last night, I seamed it up, and that didn't take too long. I used a mattress stitch. But yeah, again, this is the Ikoi cowl by Hilary Smith Callis. You can find that on Ravelry, or you can go to Knit Circus. We sell these kits, not in this colorway because it's discontinued. I think this is called Sandcastle, but it's a discontinued colorway. So you won't find this colorway, but you can find some other really beautiful ones on there. Yeah, so glad I got that off my needles. And I also finished this really fun project. The ties are a little, oh well. Look at these. Isn't that adorable? So these are the, I think they're just called baby leggings from Froginette Designs. I can't remember her name, but she's Froginette on Instagram. She has some of the cutest baby and like toddler patterns ever. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. So I saw these a while ago, put them in my favorites, and as I was just kind of trying to decide what projects I wanted to do next, I just thought it'd be really fun to do something a little bit different. I've already knit the new baby a sweater. I've knit several pairs of socks, a pair of booties, and I'll show you in a little bit, but I have another sweater on the go. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. I had a skein of Cascade 220 Superwash in my stash. I actually have quite a few skeins of that yarn. I kind of bought quite a bit of them when we were clearing that out. When I worked at Yarnology, we cleared that out and got a different superwash wool in, and I bought up a bit of that when it was on sale. So this is, yeah, this is almost one entire skein of yarn. It's the 3-month size because he'll probably be a big-ish baby, I'm assuming, based on my family. And just the, yeah, babies that my family usually has. And also just because he'll be born in September, beginning of September, and I don't know, most of the time throughout September we can still have really warm days. So yeah, I want him to be able to wear these and use them. It is worsted weight, so you know they are going to be kind of warm. So I figured it would just be better to knit the little bit of a bigger size so that he can actually like wear them when the weather gets cold. So yeah, that's the baby leggings. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about these. I think they're knit on a size 8 needle. oh, this was knit on a size 5. Yeah, I didn't say that. And let's see, my brain is slightly scattered at the moment, so apologies if I just seem to be, you know, trying to think of words in the moment. Yeah. I'm gonna blame pregnancy brain, although I haven't really had too much of an issue with that. I've had friends that become completely forgetful, and one of my favorite stories is my roommate from college when she was pregnant with her first. She went out to lunch with her husband. They met for lunch, and when she was ready to go, she was looking for her keys. She couldn't find her keys. Turns out she had left her car running the entire time she was in the restaurant. So like, it was in the parking lot with the keys in the ignition turned on the entire time. So she was like, that was one of the best like pregnancy brain stories I have ever heard. But yeah, I haven't had too much of an issue, I don't think, with being forgetful, mislaying things, you know, things like that. But sometimes my brain just gets a little more scattered than normal, I think. So we'll just blame that. But yeah, I do have an I-cord there that I knit to tie them up, and it has this nice texture along the sides, and at the bottom it's the same texture. Yeah, otherwise they were super easy. The pattern's well written. They have really nice short rows in the back so that his diaper fits. And yeah, I'm considering, I probably will make another set of those. Maybe one more in the 3-month and then a couple in an even bigger size as he grows throughout the winter. There's a couple other patterns too that I want to check out on Ravelry, and that are in my favorites for like legging type or like little pants. I just think they'll be easy to put on him. They'll be durable, hopefully, because it's wool. Yeah, I'm just really hoping to get a lot of use out of these baby projects that I'm making. I can hear my voice starting to like go a little bit. I don't know why, so I'm gonna... Oh, I have to show you my mug. So this was my Mother's Day present from Seaver, and that's our little guy. That was the picture. How many weeks was I? I can't even remember. We got our first ultrasound at 20 weeks, just over 20 weeks. And since then I have had 2 more, which I know seems weird, and it is. So the second one I had to have because they didn't get very good, like, clear pictures of a part of the heart. So I had to go back in, and that's when this one was taken. So that was maybe a week or 2 later, so maybe at about 22 weeks. And then I went in last week. Was that? No, that was 2 weeks ago already. For a fetal echocardiogram, because he has a slight hole in one of the muscles of his heart, very tiny, but they wanted to get a better look at that and make sure nothing else was wrong. So everything else looks normal. It's functioning fine. They're 95% sure it'll close on its own, which is very reassuring. And if it doesn't, they said he shouldn't have any negative consequences from that. So his heart should still work the same. He shouldn't have any like tiredness or anything that comes from that. They just know it's there, and they're going to keep an eye on it. So apparently it's very common. It's the most common heart defect that people have. A lot of people don't even know they have. It's called a VSD, and they live completely normal lives. until like something else happens and they have to get their heart checked, and then it's like, oh yeah, did you know you have this, you know, pinprick hole in your heart. And it's just between two of the, there's like two chambers at the bottom of the heart, and it's between the muscle in between there. So it's not like anything's leaking out of the heart. It's just going between the two chambers. But anyway, so I had to go back for more testing on that. I don't have to, again, I don't have to get another echo or anything for him or for me or anything like that. They're pretty confident in the fact that he will be completely normal. They're just gonna kind of watch it as he grows. So anyway, so that's why that was the second ultrasound I had within the span of about 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks. But anyway, back to knitting. So I did mention just now in passing that I have a project, a new project going for the baby. And this is in my Little House in the Big Woods, or my Laura Ingalls Wilder bag. This was part of a kit a long time ago, from Little Skein in the Big Wool. And obviously it was a Laura Ingalls Wilder themed like kit. So I got, with that, I think I got 2 skeins of yarn, a shawl pattern, progress keeper, some stitch markers, the bag, and it was a gift from my friend Amanda, who used to be my roommate. And in this bag, I have, it's all themed, it's wonderful. I have my flax light sweater that I started a few days ago, and it's amazing how fast this has been going. I did get a lot of knitting done on it, was it yesterday, I think? Or the day before? Maybe it was Friday. I got a lot of knitting done and got almost the entire body done. But there it is. So this is the Flax Light Sweater by Tin Can Knits. It's done in a fingering weight yarn. I'm doing the 6 to 12 month size, again, just so he can get more wear out of it. And I am on the ribbing at the bottom. I'm almost done, actually. I probably have, that's probably 1/2 inch, so I probably have another 1/2 inch to go. And this is out of my Homespun House Club yarn. Molly is doing all of the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, like a themed yarn. So this was Little House in the Big Woods. And there's the information. I think it's a 75-25. It's very, very soft though. I haven't knit with this base before. I've knit with her 80-20 a few times, which is also lovely. I actually think 80-20 is my favorite base, but this is very, very soft. Yeah, it's going to, I mean, it just feels, wow. Feels so, so soft. But for some reason, I really like the ply of most 80-20s, that like kind of ropey. Some people think it looks ropey. I actually really like it. I think it looks like bouncy and fluffy. But I am enjoying knitting with this a lot. The speckles are just coming out so fun. I really like how most of Molly's yarn doesn't pool. The speckles are done in such a way that even like up here I was increasing, I had way more stitches, and then I went down, you know, to just the body stitches, and it still doesn't really look different. Whereas a lot of variegated yarns, it would, the patterning, the striping, or the speckling would look very, very different if you had, when you go from large amount of stitches to smaller amount of stitches. So there's the other side. And I just think it's gonna be really fun for him. It's this bright green, background. It's got some like almost teal pops, which I don't think you can see very well, but then a lot of other like dark green. There's a little bit of like a purpley, there's a dark blue. It's just really, really fun. So yeah, I'm almost done with the body. I'm excited for that. And then I'll move on to the sleeves. And on this is my progress keeper. There came with the yarn in the club. This is from Simply Serving, and it is Susan the Corncob doll, which if you have read Little House in the Big Woods, you know who Susan is. That is the doll that Laura had before she got a proper rag doll. She would take a corn cob and wrap it up in a blanket and pretend it was her doll. So super cute. But yeah, I'm really enjoying knitting that. It's such a straightforward pattern. It's so easy, pretty mindless. I mean, the only thing you really have to pay attention to is when you're increasing for the sleeves, that you do enough rows, enough increases, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, you're just kind of knitting. It's really, really nice. So I'm excited to get that done. I have a feeling that I'm just gonna, like, that's one of the patterns that I'm gonna keep knitting as he gets bigger. I also have yarn to do a regular flax, which is done out of worsted weight. So I think I'm gonna do, like I said, that's the 6 to 12 month. I might do the next size up, which I'm not sure. I don't think it jumps to 24 months. Maybe she has an 18 month. That would make more sense. I might do that size for the thicker one, just because do you want him to wear it throughout the winter into next spring? And again, I don't know. I just have a feeling he's gonna be wearing, most babies I feel like wear clothes a size up from what they're technically like at. So I just have a feeling I need to knit it bigger. But, and if it doesn't fit him, if it turns out super big, I just put it away for the next winter and he'll wear it then. But yeah, it's just such a great pattern, and they have so many sizes. It's like, why not just keep, you know, knitting one for the next, you know, when he grows, I'll have one ready for him then. So I like that idea. The other thing I've been working on, besides like finishing up obviously the projects I have, knitting the flax light, is my cozy memory blanket, which you can see on the back of our brand new couch, which we got a couple weeks ago when we moved in. This is like, okay, so we did buy a bed. We bought a new bed with a bed frame because we were still sleeping on 2 twin size beds shoved together. That's what we've been sleeping on for the past, how many years have we lived together? 3 years? Yeah, it's almost our 2-year anniversary, you guys. We've almost been married for 2 years, which is very exciting. But yeah, we've lived together for 3.5 years, I think. And that was just, it was more economical. We didn't have money to buy a mattress. We each had a twin mattress already. We just bought a frame to like put them on, and we smushed them together. And we had been sleeping on that for years, like I said. So we did finally end up buying a bed, which is really, really nice. And so that was our first piece of new furniture that we bought as a couple. And then this couch was number 2. So we wanted a bigger, comfortable couch. It does have like a chase lounge attached to it on this side, so a lot of space for people to sit. And then it's actually a pull-out, which I know is like totally not the thing to get anymore, but we don't have a spare bedroom, and we don't have room in the baby's room for like a futon or anything. So if people come over, we would have to blow up an air mattress, which is fine, but we really wanted a comfortable space for our family. when they come over. I know that my sister is planning on coming up, maybe staying a couple of days when Seaver goes back to work during my maternity leave. My mom will probably come up. Seaver's mom will probably come stay. It's just inevitable that people will be staying here, especially with the new baby. So we wanted a comfortable place for them to sleep, and yeah, this pulls out. It's got a nice like memory foam, thin memory foam mattress, and hopefully everybody will be comfy when they're here. So that just, I don't know, like that dual purpose, and just having space for people was really important to us. So yeah, so that worked. But anyway, we are really liking it so far. And to highlight what was decorating that, I don't keep that up there all the time, but I thought it would be a nice little backdrop during the podcast. I've been working again on my cozy memory blanket, and it's such a comforting thing to pull out and work on when your brain just doesn't want to go, it just doesn't want to go there. My flax light has been great for that too, but there is something about making, like having that progress, just feeling that you're making one step forward, you know, you're adding one more square, it just feels really good. So this week yesterday I knit 2 squares, but since I showed you this last, I knit 4. So I again added another strip to the side here. Last time I showed you these guys, I think on that side, or no, maybe it was just these 2. You know, I forget what I showed you. Maybe it was like, was it the blue, that one and that one, I think? Anyway, it doesn't matter, but this time I added another row onto the end, and I knit that square. This was like a free sample that was included in a yarn purchase I made several years ago. It was a little mini skein sent to me, and I didn't realize that it was self-striping, which is super fun. In the skein, it just kind of looked variegated, and there was no tag or anything like that, so I really didn't know like what it would look like, but that was fun. So I put that on there, and then I added this guy. This is from the Sixpence Moon, and I knit a pair of socks out of this yarn. Was that 2 years ago? Yeah, right after our wedding, we went on a little honeymoon. My cousin was getting married in upstate New York, in the Finger Lakes area, which, oh my gosh, so beautiful. And we stayed an extra like 4 or 5 days after their wedding, and kind of did our honeymoon on top of that trip. So one of the best vacations of my life. I loved it out there. It was so beautiful. There was so many fun things to do. We had the best mix of outdoor recreation, like we went canoeing, we did a ton of beautiful hikes. Oh my gosh, I can't, like, I'm just wistful about that area and that vacation, and it was wonderful. So we did a bunch of hikes, but then we also did museums, and we did an art museum. We did it was called the Farmers Museum, which was like a historic, similar to Old World, Wisconsin, if you've been there, or some other places where they kind of revitalize these old buildings. They take them from other areas close by, and they kind of make like a town almost, like I don't know how to describe it, but there's like, you know, the hotel and the blacksmith and the apothecary and the general store, and you know, you can walk around, and there's interpreters that are dressed up, and there's farms with, you know, gardens that are growing and animals, and it's just like going back in time, which I love those type of things. Old World, Wisconsin is in Eagle, Wisconsin. If you haven't been there, if you live in the area, you haven't been there, go. if you are at all interested in history, or you just want a fun place to walk around, it's just so beautiful out there and it's so interesting. I love it. I love it. I've been there quite often. I really wanted to go this summer or this spring before I got too pregnant, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't even know if it'll open this year, but which is a shame. But yeah, why was oh yeah, I was talking about our trip to New York. So we went to that. We also went to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, which was a bucket list item for me. That day was like, really was kind of a dream come true. It was amazing. So we did stay in Cooperstown for a good portion of that vacation, and then my cousin got married in Ithaca. So we drove from Ithaca to Cooperstown, and then after that we kind of did, we stayed one night in Jamestown, New York, did some, after hiking a different park, we drove to Jamestown, stayed the night, and then drove all the way home. So anyway, I have a whole vlog up about that, so I don't know why I'm going into so much detail. But if you want to check out my trip to New York, scroll down a ways. 2 years ago, yeah, it would have been 2 years ago, I would have posted about that. Not quite 2 years, we went in September. So anyway, this was the yarn I was knitting on while we were out there. All of that to say that this came from a pair of socks. This was Sixpence Moon pumpkin spice latte, pumpkin spice colorway. I loved knitting these socks. I loved this yarn and that project, and it just makes me think of that vacation. Just wonderful. So the next 2 squares I did yesterday, and these were both from a friend advent that I got not last Christmas, but the Christmas before. Me and 2 friends exchanged yarn for an advent, and yeah, both of these yarns came from them. So I'm not sure which one, like what they are, although I'm pretty sure this is spun right round, because I think I recognize it from that, but I don't know what this one is. It's really pretty though. So yeah, I love knitting on this, and it's just so comforting. And I'm excited, like I get excited to like use up these mini skeins and these ends that I have, because my bag over here is just full of them. So it's in this tote bag, this little women tote bag. And yeah, I just have a lot still to go. There's less in here than there was, that's for sure. I didn't work on this for quite a while, and then a few months ago just picked it up again, decided to get going, and it's just been so much fun. So yeah, I'm really happy I've done that, and just want to keep plugging away at it, adding a few squares here and there when I get the chance. So yeah, so that is all my works in progress and finished objects. I did get a little bit of yarn in the mail. I'm going to show you. Very special yarn. So I've been on the hunt for yarn to knit the baby's blanket. I want to knit him a baby blanket from me, just like a very special, I don't know, it just seems like the thing to do. I'm probably going to get a lot of blankets from other people as well, which I'm totally cool with, but I just want him to have one that I made from me, even though I'm knitting all of his little accessories and clothes and stuff too. I don't know, it just feels special to knit him a baby blanket. So I am pretty sure on the pattern, I think I'm going to do, it's called Pasture. I don't know who the designer is. When I start it and I show it to you next time, I promise I will have that information. But I was kind of looking at some of my favorite dyers, and I don't know, just trying to think about what the look of the blanket what I wanted it to be. And this particular pattern has some, it's like a very easy all over like lace or eyelet pattern. No cables or anything, but I still wanted it to be kind of simple. Yeah, I didn't want to take too much away from the stitch pattern itself. So I was kind of looking around. I kept my eye out for several weeks. I knew I didn't want to order anything until we had moved because I just wanted it to come to the right place, and not be sort of on the edge of my seat waiting for it, hoping that it, you know, made its way to the right address. So once we were moved and settled, I was kind of looking at a few people that I like, that I follow, I wanted to support, and one of those makers is Bad Sheep Yarn, and I forget her name. Oh, I forget her name, but I follow her on Instagram. I've loved her yarn for so long and I've admired it, but I've never ordered any or worked with it. So I think I saw a picture of this yarn on Instagram, and at first I thought it was maybe a little bit too plain. Then I saw the name, and then I really started thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want anything to be too, I don't know, too crazy. I want a very simple, soothing blanket. So the name of this yarn is Constellations. That's the colorway. And we are doing our son's nursery in like a space theme because my husband is a scientist and loves all things science related. He's also a farmer and a handyman, and he's very multifaceted, but he works as a chemist. So I don't know, I do so much of the planning and the baby registry. I did a lot of the decorating, and here, like in our main areas, you know, decisions like that, like he definitely weighs in, but it just sort of falls to, like, I have more stuff to put on the walls and all of that. He just had his like bachelor pad posters that I'm like, no, you're not gonna put a Green Bay Packer poster on our wall. Like, sorry, maybe someday in a basement, but anyway. So yeah, when he kind of was like, you know, I think this would be a really cool idea for the nursery, I just ran with it. I'm like, all right. Like, at first I was like, I wanted to make sure that he like was serious. And then he kept talking about it, and I'm like, okay, yep, I can live with that. I think it'd be really cute. So we're going with like navy blue, grays, and cream. So like really, just really soothing, really neutral. But yeah, having that like sort of space theme. So some of the decorations might have a little pop of color that'll come out. But anyway, I bought this nice, it's kind of like a dark baby blue. It's not super light, but it has these beautiful dark blue speckles, just kind of really subtle, sprinkled throughout. So you can see there's another stain. So I think that's going to be a great combination of, you know, that subtle solid with just a little bit of like fun sprinkled. So I did order 4 of these so that he can have a nice big cozy blanket. And it is a DK weight, 245 yards, and it's a 75-25 superwash merino and nylon. Hand painted in North Pole, Alaska. How cool is that? So yeah, the lighting's not the best. I'm using mostly natural light right now, but that's a pretty good indication of what it looks like. So I'm really excited to get that cast on. And knit his baby blanket. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is not new yarn. It's very old yarn actually. But last night I decided as one of my projects, I was home alone, I was watching HGTV, which is like I'm not watching a podcast or, you know, Netflix of some sort. I usually am watching Food Network or HGTV. So I was watching that, just kind of had it on in the background, seamed up my cowl, and then I was like, you know, maybe it's the nesting in me, I don't know. But I was like just kind of itching for like a project, and not just to sit down and like knit on something. I wanted to like, I don't know. I wanted to like cross a project off my list. So definitely seaming this was one of them. And then I have decided there's a few things I'm going to frog, and I'm going to reuse the yarn. I have 2 like sweaters that I'm going to do that to. I have not tackled those yet, but I had a blanket on the needles for close to 10 years maybe. My sister got married. When did she get married? I can't even remember. 2010? So they might be having their 10-year anniversary this year. Yeah. So it would be 10 years. Oh my gosh. Anyway, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been 10 years. Okay, so I cast on a blanket for my sister and my brother-in-law before they got married, as it was going to be their wedding present. Well, silly old me, I just started knitting again. I had just started working at Yarnology. I was gonna say Knit Circus. And I got this idea in my head that I was gonna make this big blanket for their bed out of worsted weight yarn. And I could have done it, but it was just, oh my gosh, it was so much work. I knit a good, I should have showed it to you before I frogged it, but that's okay. It was probably about that much. So it was like a couple of feet, and it was, yeah, like my arm span long. So it wasn't like a full bed, like queen size bed or anything like that, but it was a large blanket. And I realized several years ago already that I was never gonna finish this blanket. Obviously it had been years, even at that point, since they had gotten married, and it hadn't been worked on. It was just sitting in this Walmart bag, this reusable Walmart bag. Yeah, it was just, yeah. I'm trying to think of words, but that's pretty much, it was just there, and it wasn't, nothing was happening to it. So like I said, I decided long ago that I was gonna rip it out, reuse the yarn for something, but I just never got around to doing it. It just seemed like too big of a project, which in hindsight is ridiculous. So last night I decided to do that. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, technically 6 skeins of yarn that I took out of that blanket, and it was only like a 1/5 of the way done, not even, maybe a 1/6 of the way done. And I'm like, how, I don't even know how many skeins of yarn. I think I only had a few left, like full skeins. I was never gonna finish this blanket with that amount of yarn, because I think I just got like a pack of 10 skeins, and that was it. There's no way. So this is a double. This is 2 skeins that were attached together, because I also realized that naive me back in the day, I didn't weave in any ends. I just knotted the skeins together as I went. When I got to the first one, I'm like, that's interesting. Like, this is Cascade 220, not Cascade 220 Superwash, Cascade 220. 100% Highland wool. I thought maybe it was just a knot in the skein, but then I realized that I wasn't coming across any like ends to unpick. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. So I kept going. I came to another knot, and I'm like, all right, this means that I just didn't even attempt to weave an end. So I broke the knots, and these are 100-gram skeins. So these 4 I took from there, and then this 200-gram, which it looks super, it's just really condensed, I think. But anyway, I did wind these up. I have an electric ball winder here from work. So I did cake these up. I'm still not sure if I'm going to reskein them and soak them and all that, or if I'm just gonna knit out of here. My plan for this yarn is to knit my husband a sweater that he can wear like outdoors. So really hardy. It's non-superwash, so it'll probably, you know, it'll go on top of a long sleeve t-shirt or something. But he does a lot of hiking, he does a lot of work outside, and you know, even though I'm going to be putting a lot of work into the sweater, I still think I'd be okay with him wearing it. Like, I don't know. I don't want him to have to keep it like pristine. So that's why I'm like, why even go to the trouble of reskeinin and soaking and straightening, and when I don't really care that much. That sounds terrible, but it's the truth. So, oh, there's a nasty smell coming in from my door. I don't know what that is. Kind of smells like burning tar. Ugh. I don't know what that is. That's disgusting. Anyway, so yeah, I have this yarn that I will be just adding to my stash for now, and then hopefully eventually I'll get to reuse it into something that will be worn and used and loved. Yeah. So that's the story with that. I'm so proud of myself for doing that, honestly. And I'll show you guys the sweaters that I'm thinking about frogging as well. It's, yeah, they're just not worth keeping around when they don't fit and I don't wear them, but the yarn is beautiful. So yeah, I'm hoping to get another life out of that yarn. But anyway, I think I've talked about everything. I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on. Not really. Like I said, we're still kind of in shutdown mode in a way. I hope everybody else that is in the same place is keeping their sanity. Yeah, that's about it. There's no real news on that, except for that there are plenty of places now that are opening up, and I'm just afraid that we won't be taking necessary precautions and this is gonna just keep spiraling out of control. But anyway, those are just my thoughts. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for your support, for coming back episode after episode if you have been watching for a while now. I really appreciate all of you. And if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for coming and checking out my podcast. I hope to have regular content again. Now that we are settled, it's going to be much easier here to podcast than it was in our old home. So I'm very excited about that. And yeah, I just look forward to seeing you guys on Instagram, Ravelry. If you have any questions about anything that I showed you today, just message me. And yeah, that's about it. So, hope you all have a great week. Thank you again for watching. Please just be kind to one another, and let's all do our part to make this world a wonderful place for everybody to live in. And yeah, we need to do our part. We need to do our homework, and we need to vote when the time comes. I'm gonna leave you with that. I will see you all again so soon. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, do things that make your heart happy, love one another, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.